along once again to the Cardiff City phone-in. The usual off-air shenanigans are going on, but we'll leave those to your imagination. Terry Walton back on the show, which is always good to get Terry on. We had a conversation about the vegetables I need to start growing outside my shed, but we'll come back to that at some other point. Martin Ryan, first time on the show. Thanks for coming on, Martin. Good to see you. And Alworth is with us as well. So we got another good panel. So last week's show, just to say, with Peter Kitchen, I know me and Al, it was probably one of the most enjoyable shows we've ever done. So thanks very much to Peter for a great show. It was really good fun. And some of the notes I had from last week I still have here because I didn't get to use them because we just ended up chatting to Peter. He was coming on for 15 minutes and then we ended up going on for a long time. Terry, I'll come to you first because you claim I only get you on when we're winning, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. But we are winning. And how do you see things going with City? Do you have any concerns at all, or just?
I have some minor. It's hard to criticize when we're doing well, but I find we still make silly mistakes at the back and let goals in early on and we chasing. And I still find up front there seems to be a lot of goals in this forward line, but we don't seem to finish off. We seem to lack that final touch to get it in the net. You know, I keep thinking next game there's 4 or 5 goals in his team, and we have every stat, every game. We got in the 20s of goals there, but only about 2 or 3 on target, 1 or 2 saved, and we'll end up winning 1-0, 2-0, 3-1. We don't seem to be able to get that composure in front of goal to slot the final winner over and crucify teams early on.
And what you put that down to, Terry? Because obviously, you know, we have a lot of possession, don't we? We
do.
At times play really nice football. So is it just the final ball? What is it?
No, I think I think some of our younger players tend to shoot a bit wildly and don't control the ball as well as they could do. You know, they get the ball at their feet and they lash, and it goes wide over the top or anywhere between the sticks. And I think we make great positions, but sometimes we don't finish off. And even Salak, you know, he's like Saturday, that seemed like a perfect goal, but he headed it straight to the keeper, didn't he?
Well, I was talking to somebody about that earlier on today, and they said it was kind of deceptive because the ball was sort of slightly behind him.
Right.
So he was trying to angle it across.
Yeah.
He couldn't get quite the angle on it because he obviously wanted to direct it back the other way, didn't he?
Look at our goals on shots on goals, and the stats are always way up there. The shots on, but they never actually get into the back of the net, and that's the worrying bit. And we seem to be then at the end of the game, we're all nail biting, hope we can hang on to the win or hang on to the draw.
I mean, there's lots to talk about from that game on the weekend. Obviously, you know, it was for not very good reasons. It was an unusual match. But
it was a slogger's game, wasn't it? It was a slogger's game.
Yeah. Well, we managed to hold on to it, Martin, and we managed to keep the unbeaten run. I think it's eight games unbeaten now for City. So, you know, I'm a 10 points clear of third. So we should just be really happy, shouldn't we?
I think so. I think particularly on Saturday, very early on, the referee set the boundaries for what was physical contact was going to be allowed. And I can't blame Stockport. They played right up to those boundaries. They were very high press. When they counter-attacked, it was very, very, very quick, very direct, and they got stuck in. They tried to break up our rhythm. And for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, they were successful. Actually, the break for Salak's injury, which was terrible, it was a really frightening scenario. The break actually helped us because I felt we calmed down, and I thought the side responded fantastically. We really did respond well, and they're a tough side, very aggressive, and we responded well to it. We stayed calm, we were controlled, there was no rush, there was no rash decision making, and that's testimony to Barry Murphy's management. I thought we handled the situation really well Saturday, and we're a little bit unlucky not to get the second goal.
So there's a couple of things with that. I mean, I think BBM was talking about this after the game. I saw an interview. there's the emotional side of things because we haven't got a huge squad. We've got quite a tight knit squad, Martin, I think at the moment. And when a player goes down with that kind of injury and there's like 13, 14, 15 minutes delay, as a neck brace being stretched off, it's a human being basis. That's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? Particularly for a youngish squad. So you thought they handled that bit quite well, did you?
I thought they handled this superbly. Whoever galvanised them, whether it was Callum Chambers or Callum Robinson coming on or Barry Murphy getting his message on, they didn't respond emotionally. They knew what they had to do. They concentrated on what their strengths are, which is passing the ball around, moving the ball around. I have slight concerns that we've only scored 5 goals in the last 4 home games. And we should, for a side that plays football as fluently as we do, that should be higher. But we're playing sides who are defending deep in their own boxes, 3 big centre-halves every week. And it takes a bit of guile, a bit of craft. And I think we're just missing that little bit of guile, a little bit of craft in the final third. I thought when Willock come on Saturday, he added that. Yeah, he was very clever. He's technically a very good player, and he added that. But that's the only concern for me. And I love going down on a Saturday now. The football's fantastic. The only concern I've got is just 5 goals in 4 home games. I would like to see a higher return.
It's Al, if you're able to communicate with us now. I'm back. We get accused of this. We all love Cardiff City football. It's fantastic to see the club doing so well, and may it continue. But we can at times be a little bit hard to please, So there's, comments about maybe not scoring enough goals and conceding the odd silly one at the back. To reiterate, we are 10 points clear of third, so it was a point gained, and we're I think 16 or 17 points clear of Luton now in 7th place. So sometimes we can be a little bit demanding, but obviously we're doing well. I mean, we wouldn't swap where we are, I don't think. No. Going on to, we're just talking about the referee. Everyone who's ever heard the show in the history of Fulham will hate me for saying this. But Martin just made the point that at the beginning of the game, for the first sort of 15 minutes or so, he was letting quite a lot go. And at the time, I thought he might be all right, this ref, because the game was like flowing, But I suppose the other, and this is before any really bad stuff happened. But I thought the game was kind of flowing. He seemed to be smiling with the players and communicating, etc. But obviously, things took a bit of a turn for the worse. And then it felt like it became a bit almost unsafe, really, because from where letting the game flow, there's a fine line, I suppose, between letting the game flow and anything goes. And I think we got into that territory, didn't we?
Yeah, I didn't hear what the other chap said. Forgive me because I was sort of off air. But if I'm repeating what they've already said, but he lost it, didn't he? He didn't put a stamp on the game early doors, and I think Stockport took him as far as they possibly could. I heard Martin say, they kind of played a good game, really. And if you were supporting them, you'd think, well, hang on a second, they've done a job on us. They've come to get something. They've gone home and thought, well, that's a good point down with us. And all of their fans are very, very, very happy with it, and so would we be, I think. But the referee, all of us around where I was standing, we were just saying he lost it early doors, didn't he? And they just kept on and kept on and kept on. The niggles, the shirt pulling, and I think on the wet surface, it could have been dangerous. Some of the tackles that were flying in, and then just as you're expecting him to book one of their players, he booked one of our players. It was just crazy. It just seemed to be crazy. A really poor decision. Poor decision making. And I know I've long been an advocate of linesmen. They've got a role in the game. These linesmen should have been looking, seeing what was going on, flagging. It's almost like they were seeing things themselves and letting it go. So yeah, the whole they should be acting. The 3 of them should be acting as a unit, and they don't. And I think the lower down the divisions you go, the less experienced, in particular, the assistant referees, the linesmen are, and they don't feel like they've got any authority to be saying that they can, if you like, contradict what the ref's saying. Now, we've been saying a long time there are a lot of inexperienced refs. I know he's been doing lower league football for the last 5 years, so he can't say he's inexperienced. I thought he might have been. But the linesmen, these could have been sort of that. They can be first season running the line, and not knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we all seem to be coming to the conclusion that the refereeing at this level is not same, should we say, as it is at a higher level. And you're right, and that goes for all officials. If we're saying the referees aren't that experienced, and obviously the linesmen are even less inclined, maybe to. I was reading, Steve, that he was promoted out of non-league 5 years ago, and he's never gone, and he's never then refereed higher than League One. Now, previously, we might have had referees, you'd expect more referees to come down from the Championship, if you like, but he just didn't seem to have it. I don't know, and it ruined what could have been. It could have been a good game. So I want to ask you something about Al, which I don't know whether you've seen this or anyone on the panel. Maybe we'll go around in this a bit. It's kind of interesting, because here we are in League One, the old League Division 3 kind of in a way, and we top the league. We're the capital city club. We just come down from the Championship, and we're looking like we're going, all being well, we should bounce back up. So you can see how with the other clubs, we could be seen as maybe we've got this kind of, mightier than thou kind of thing, yeah. And it's been interesting. I'll start with you, and I'll go around with maybe Terry, Martin. I don't know if you've seen any of this, but there's been quite a lot of inverted commas banter from Stockport fans, basically saying, you've got a great sense of self-importance, and what are you talking about? We were physical, and it showed this league where we were 6th, I think, in fouls, and they were 8th or something. But is there anything in that? Or obviously we're all going to disagree with it, but can you kind of see it from their point of view?
You say banter, and I read something, and it's a good point. If you're a Stockport fan, they said, well, when you were last in the Premier League, we were in the National League. And they were competing with Wrexham to get out to the National League, a club with a long history, probably didn't think they should have been there. So for them to come to us, not that long ago Premier League team, if you like, it'll be the same when they go to places like Luton. They get a result there, and they're over the moon, and quite rightly so. So I don't think we get any special treatment just because we've I don't see that. I don't agree with that at all. But I do, when we say, "Oh, look, they're celebrating like they've won the cup just for getting a point at us." Well, I think that takes a bit away from these teams. When they get a point for us, then it is a big achievement, and that goes to show how big a club we are in this division. And hopefully, we don't stay in it for very long.
Yeah, so Terry, I don't know whether you can see the comment on the screen from Lee. You're saying, "I don't think VAR helps so many officials needed for it, and lower league refs going up the leagues and out their depth." Probably not their fault. How do you see things in the way games are being officiated at this level? Is it as bad as we think, or are we making a fuss out of nothing? What's your take, Terry?
I think at the end of the day, the higher up the leagues you go, the more professional they are. There's bigger money involved. They're paying more to people to do this job better. The lower down you go, you get the lower and less qualified people. But again, it's that sort of league where, as I said earlier on, there is a clog-in type game. There's teams coming there who are there just to defend and not open up at all. And if you got the ball, you're never going to pass a player in this league without him bringing you down. You're not going to. So Cardiff at the moment got a good set of skills. The players handle the ball well, can beat players. But it's the sort of league, if you're going to do that, you're marked halfway through the game. The minute you got the ball, they're going to pull your shirt, going to take your legs away. You ain't going to make the pace. And Cardiff are there now to be shot at, aren't they? They've come down from the Championship. They've come into the Division 1. They've sat at the top and on the top since they've been there. So it's the side they want to beat. And you look at the games, 1 or 2 games we've lost this season to lowly sides. That's turned those sides around this season. People like Luton came and won. Burton, after beating us, they seem to have a good run of games of winning then. So it's lifting sides who think, right, we've beaten the best in this league. We're better than what we think we are.
Yeah, and we got Burton away on the weekend. So I think I'm not sure if I'm right. That could be the first side to do double over us. I'm not quite sure. I just put that one out there.
There will
Terry,
be.
just to stick with you for now, right? That thing with Youssef on the weekend. You know, there's lots of ways of looking at it. The ball was there to be won. It was in the air. You know, I was a terrible central defender. I'm a big old lump. You know, so you jump up. You know, you can argue that you know you can use your arms and maybe to raise yourself. But what worried me about it a bit was the history going into that challenge, because if you remember, just a few minutes before, Youssef had barged him to the floor, and you know that was his chance to get in there, and it was not necessarily the initial challenge, but the way he continued it through. It seemed like he deliberately wanted to kind of, you know, cause maximum impact. I mean, for you, was it because the referee didn't even give a foul, by the way, and he went off on a stretcher in a neck brace, you know. What's your thoughts on that, Terry? I haven't seen
sorry, I thought you were
sorry.
for now.
Sorry,
I mean,
sorry.
it was a dip. I never got a clear view of that. It didn't appear, first of all, to be a terrible move. He obviously caught him quite heavily with his elbow, but to me, it wasn't clever cut. The worst thing that took place afterwards, after he gone down, the referee played on and didn't treat it as being anything serious, and it landed up looking a lot more serious than what it eventually turned out. Thank God. But I mean, yeah, there was niggle building up there. You could see that, couldn't you? And whether it was a clear cut, deliberate, I'm not 100% sure. But he was definitely went up there. His elbow definitely came back, and he definitely got him a full blow.
And of course, there were at least two other instances where elbow was involved. The one from the lad Stokes. I mean, he looked around and then the elbow went. And for me, that seemed, more premeditated. Jeremy asked a good question. I don't know. I haven't got. We were talking about this before. An actual firm update on Youssef Salek. Has anybody got anything on that? Heard anything since?
No, it's still rather vague, isn't it? I mean, he got discharged fairly quickly from hospital. He had the scans, so everything appears. But he's been on the social media himself and said everything's pretty good. But there's no clarity whether he have got concussion or not. There's no clarity when he can play again.
Yeah. Okay. And Martin. Yeah. Obviously, there's rumours knocking around. He could be available from tomorrow. I'd be very surprised if he was available tomorrow. I'd be very, very surprised. I don't know. I saw this one earlier, just talking about the physicality of things, and obviously, you know, we're top of the table, and hopefully, we're going to go flying up. But we don't want to focus too much on it. But the point was made, Martin, which I think gives us some sort of depth, is BBM was very measured in what he says. I always think he thinks about what he says. But he said it's almost like it's been coming, you know, because Youssef Salek, was he 6'5" or something, 6'4", 6'5", big, you know, strong centre forward. So he uses his physical strength, but then it seems as if, therefore, he's a big lad. So you're allowed to have a pop, and this kind of injury was coming. Got any thoughts on that?
I was reading somewhere today, I think, that Youssef is the fourth most fouled against player in the division. Now, it's very interesting. The players who've been fouled against more are all very big, mobile centre forwards themselves. There's the boy from Stockport, Wootton, the lad Draper from Lincoln, and the other one escapes me. But all of the top four fouled against players are big, physical centre forwards. So it seems to me, just reading that referees are giving central defenders the benefit of the doubt. And they really don't need the benefit of the doubt. You know, most of them are experienced. They're big fellas themselves. They know exactly what they're doing. But I don't want Cardiff to be making that an excuse.
No.
Because our football is so good.
Yeah.
And Youssef's hold-up play under Barry Murphy has improved incredibly. So he's bound to be the focus of our attacking play, because he's the only forward in a central position. So lots is going to go through him, especially on Saturday, because they were closing Trott down very quickly. Yeah. So Trott was going long more often. Even when Robinson on, Trott was going long. And of course, Salak is going to be a target then. He's
Yeah.
the only one who's likely to flick the ball on. So the centre halves are going to attack it. They're going to, that's their game. That's what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
But I thought he stood up to it really well until that very, very scary moment.
It was
I
horrible.
thought Yusuf stood up to it brilliantly on Saturday.
I mean, in all honesty, it might have been genuinely he just went for the ball and caught him. It might just be that, that's what seems as being put.
But it wasn't clear cut, was it?
No.
He didn't go up and he wasn't nowhere near the ball and the elbow came over. I mean, it appeared, and we didn't get any benefit of any much replay. It appeared that he went for the ball, and you don't know what took place 100%. You couldn't say it was a deliberate foul because it wasn't clear cut.
So Lee Griffiths comes in with a different point of view there. Al, the elbow was a straight red, looks around and smashes him. I thought the one with Stokes.
No,
to me,
I think Lee's possibly referring to the one that you referred to.
Yeah, because that looked premeditated to me.
Not a chance. I think on Salak, we do see things through our tinted glasses, don't we?
Blue tinted glasses.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think if Salak had if he hadn't landed as he did and got up, we'd have said, "Oh, do you know what? 6-1 after the other." We wouldn't. It was just because of what happened afterwards. I mean, he was stricken on the floor, wasn't he? It looked really, really bad. I've looked at it time and time again. I can't see a foul. I can't see a foul there.
Even with the follow through.
No, I don't know.
Because
the thing is, right? Barry Murphy said something afterwards. He said, with the rule changes this year, and then that goes on to what Martin was saying. They are going at big centre forwards now because they know they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And BBM said all the teams, they're watching us beforehand, and by watching us beforehand, they are then going to target Salak, thinking that they're going to win more free kicks than they concede, and that would then go on to the other players then that Martin was saying. I think that's exactly what is happening.
And last week, I know, I loved last week's show. Peter Kitchen was a fantastic show. I know you really loved it too. But he talked about, didn't he? This is going back a bit in time when Peter was playing. How the manager would tell the defender, put one on him, sort of thing. And he talked about Mick McCarthy being a particularly talented defender, for the commas, But those days are kind of gone. But is it almost like when you see a corner coming in and there's pushing and shoving and pulling people to the ground? There seems to be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Do you think it's a difficult thing for referees to decide?
Yeah, the Salak incident aside, his refereeing on the weekend wasn't just because of the Salak incident. There were others, awful. And I think a lot of people said, because of what happened to Salak, he was a bad referee. It was way more than that. We've got comments coming in now saying 2-foot challenge on Robinson.
That was a horrible challenge.
Elbows flying. I said earlier, I thought doing some of the tackles on that sort of surface, I thought it was dangerous. You can't lunge in like that to a fellow professional because you're going to break the bloody leg, aren't you? And I think he could have done a lot. The ref could have done a lot more early doors and made for it, a better game. I think, to be honest with you, I think City did okay to stand up to them. I read a comment saying we need to stand up to them. I thought that was one of the games whereby we did front up to them and we did stand up to them. There've been a lot more games where I don't think we have. I think that was more of an example of City doing a good job. And I came away disappointed, Steve, that it was 1-1, but trying to be measured like our bosses afterwards. I thought, perhaps we've done all right there. Because like he said, it was difficult, especially for the youngsters. They've seen one of their colleagues, on the floor for a quarter of an hour. They don't know what's the matter with him and he's gone to hospital. Their heads are going to be all over the place, aren't they? So I think that's a good point. I'm quite happy with it. And move on to tomorrow. If Yusuf doesn't play, we can't be reliant upon one man. We've got a big squad. Your likes of Robinson, your likes of Isaac Davis, now's their opportunity. If they say, well, I'm knocking on the manager's door because I want to play, well, show us what you can do. Now's your chance.
Well, let's play. If we play devil's advocate, then so if Yusuf had been, we still don't know. We still haven't got real clarity on it, but we thank God it's not as bad as I thought it could have been. But let's say he's out for 2 or 3 weeks, Al. Yeah, the transfer window, I think it ends on this 7:00 next week as the show starts. I think that's right. If he had been out for an amount of time, yes, we have got Isaac Davis and Callum, of course. but they're very different players, aren't they? You know, we would have needed, don't you think, then to have been looking at bringing in some sort of backup striker, and I suppose throwing her out there. Do you think there's still an argument we should bring in someone to give us an option for Youssef? More closely aligned to his kind of
possibly
physicality.
so, but again, possibly so, but again, you know, he always says, doesn't he? He wants to bring in better than what we've got, and just to get, there aren't that many sort of players available, and those who are available without paying a big fee, they'd be available for a reason, won't they? So I don't think we'd be able to get someone anywhere near the stature of Youssef Saleh. So and even anywhere near the stature of the players we've got, you know. So but we'd have to change the game, like the way we play, like you say. But we don't,
Okay.
like we're saying, we don't always go long, do we? You know, we don't always. Saleh's got different strengths now. You don't just put it in the air to him. He can play with it. He can play with his feet. He can hold the ball up.
Yeah, I guess how wide sometimes.
Yeah,
Well, he proved that in the last game with that absolutely outstanding goal, didn't he? When he took that round the defender and slotted it
Oh,
home.
what a goal that was!
What a goal that was.
Goal of the season for me.
That's one of the best goals I've seen at Cardiff City Stadium ever.
Yeah, that's a good point, Terry. Actually, because again, he was clearly, if you watch it, I think it was in his own half when he picked up the ball. Actually, but again, he was being double marked.
Yeah, and he outplayed them and went round
and then he was
slotted
away.
on beautifully.
But he's being heavily marked all the time, and he's still, I think, joint top scorer in the league.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So you know, credit to him, and his value's only going to go up.
And again, you look at it. He's one of the few players that starts a game and finishes the game. He rarely gets substituted, and there's not many games he's missed since he's been there.
Yeah. It was such a
he's
good
ever
goal.
present.
What do you think City need? Oh, sorry, Martin, you go ahead.
I think Saturday's game illustrate where we miss Ruben, because our three midfield players all like the goal in front of them when they receive the ball. They like to be facing the opposition goal. Now, he is quite happy to take the ball on the half turn. Yeah. And that engages defenders. They've got to come tight to him because he can turn them. And it engages defenders in a different way. And that leaves more room for Robinson to make those little darting runs, because they're watching Ruben on a half turn. Do I have to commit myself? Do I have to stand back? And Robinson can then go in behind. So when we play a centre forward like Robinson, we really need a midfield player who's happy to go either beyond him or take the ball on the half turn. Now, Kellyman can do that. I've no doubt about it, but he doesn't do it as well as Ruben. But Joel and Alex Robertson like the goals in front of them. They like to be running onto the ball and attacking the goal. That's a strength in itself. But we're missing that person who can take a ball with his back to goal on the half turn. Definitely.
So that leads to two questions, really, which maybe we'll spin around. You've kind of already answered this one, Martin, the first one, yeah? So the question is, Al, are we missing Ruben? And does he come straight back in when he's fit?
Right. I don't think we're missing him, but I would bring him straight back in. I know that seems a bit of a backwards sort of answer, because how are we missing him when we're, 10 points clear and plus 17 goal difference, all that sort of stuff, I suppose that's our standards now, though, isn't it? But he will be, you sound like a LinkedIn journalist now, isn't it? He will be like a new signing, won't he? Come the end of the window, he comes back in, fantastic talent, and there we go. I think he'll bring him back in. But that being said, some of the boys who've come in have done a really good job in his absence as well. It's strange now. It seems that we're having players now who, I'm thinking the centre halves in particular, I suppose, who you didn't know who was going to be on the team sheet, and on Saturday kind of knew that they were going to be on the team sheet. Previously, it's kind of who's he going to go with this time. So you've got your likes of Wintle, for example, will always be on the team sheet. Bagan always on the team sheet. NG, obviously, the centre halves possibly. Although tomorrow we'll probably put Lawler and Fish in. They would not have said that, wouldn't it? It was a good interview, wasn't it, with Osho in the week, and he said he's never been at a club where there's been such competition for the same places. Yeah. And bear in mind, he was at the Premier League with Luton, and there we go.
But again, Osho is finally beginning to fit in because his confidence was on the floor. All the fans give him a slate in. Took a long time to come back. but he's gaining now, and every game he plays, he seems to be that much better.
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of things I want to ask you. Let me just stick with the Ruben question for now, because there's something I want to do in a minute as well. Terry, Ruben Caldwell, I'm guessing you're a big fan.
Yeah.
But we're doing so well.
Well, again, it only goes to show the depth of the squad, not in great depth, but the squad on the pitch, even without him, are still winning. So, even though he's an important midfield player, important in front of setting the goals up, we've managed to fill in without him. We haven't been scoring the goals as many, but we are still scoring. On the team spirit these days is the thing that's important. In the early part, we looked as if we weren't going to gel as well, but we now gelled, and once we're behind, you always got that feeling we can come back. In the past, once we got a goal down, you had this feeling we were chasing the game. We know now when we're a goal down, I don't panic anymore, and we quickly come back and score the equaliser and go on for the winners.
And of course, Joel got the goal, and I thought he had a really good game, and he was playing a little bit further forward than usual.
Yeah, and it was a cracking goal.
Really well taken goal.
Yeah.
There's a lad with a big future, isn't there, Terry?
Yeah, absolutely. He was the understudy. He was somebody who was been overshadowed, but he stepped up his own in the last few games, and he's coming forward, and he can play quite confidently in our midfield now.
So the other question for you, because Martin, you kind of gave quite a strong opinion about Ruben. I want to move on to something else, just whiz around on this one as well. So I'll say transfer window coming up on Monday. Do we need no one? Do we need particular positions? Do we need maybe one or two? It's a small squad. We don't want to shake it up too much. If you could bring in a couple of positions, shall I say, Terry, what would you be looking at?
I would still think we're still weak around the left back. We still need something there. If we got a couple of injuries there, we are really struggling in left back. And I do feel we need another pivotal man. But we know it's proved in the past to find a good goal scorer is nigh on impossible. Last season, when we were trying to keep in the championship, we couldn't find nobody to go up front. And then we were lucky we found Salak, but he took a while to bed in. We could do with someone else there to strengthen the Robertson Salak combination. But again, they are not readily available. And if they've been readily available, okay, we had the one blip where we couldn't sign early on, but there don't seem to be any activity unless there's a tremendous activity behind. But I do think we need 2 or 3 more players to see the season out, because it's going to get tougher as it goes along, and 1 or 2 injuries could spark a downturn.
Same question to you, Martin.
Obviously left back for cover for Bagan, but I just got to say what a magnificent season that young man has had.
Absolutely.
For someone who looked as if he was going out the door, he has been tremendous, and that left foot is just getting better and better and better. Yeah. Some of the crossing Saturday was terrific. We just had nobody to finish it off. I would like a cover for Winter, a different sort of cover for Winter, someone a little bit more physical, where we could bring them on the last 15 minutes of a tough away game and shore up the back 4. But they're hard to get. We're victims of our own success, because if we sign somebody permanently now, we've got to be looking to sign someone who's going to be a top half championship player. So we're limited in what we can bring in at the moment. Those sort of players won't come unless they're guaranteed championship football. So we're reliant on the loan market. Then you're in the hands of Premier League clubs who can say, yeah, we will, but wait till the end of the transfer window. We've still got a few things we need to sort out. And so we're victims of our own success in a way, and long may it last. Young players are looking at Cardiff and saying, if I go there, I'm going to be well coached. I'm going to play good football. I'm going to have a lot of support from the players around me, from the manager, and it's a great place to go. But Premier clubs are always only going to let players out in the last week or so.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. I think it's more likely to be loans. The other thing with this, Al, of course, is, it's not quite the 92, 93 kind of size squad, but it's a fairly compact squad. So if we bring in like 1 or 2 players, that means 1 or 2 of these players are not, might be involved irregularly, but they're not going to be in the squad as they are now.
I'm happy with what we've got. Save for I would want someone covering at left back for Bagan, the same as the chaps just said. I was surprised at Bradford when Colwell filled in at right. Joe Colwell filled in at right back, and like for example, Callum Chambers made a career at right back. That's where he started. And I thought perhaps they would have brought on sort of Fish at centre half and moved him across or something like that. I was surprised about that, and then I was thinking, is the squad that threadbare that we need to be bringing Colwell, because they seem to target him as soon as he came on that awful pitch. It's all very well me saying now don't bring anyone in, but if we let anyone go, which hopefully we won't, then you'd be looking to want to replace anyone that you've let go. But as things stand at the moment, he keeps saying all the time, he doesn't go overboard, does he? And he keeps saying, I think these players now are going to get better in the second half of the season, stronger, fitter. And if that's the case, we can't improve in this league on what we've got. Or if we do, there's people say, could we be doing better? You look at the league table, it tells you one story, doesn't it? I don't know. I aside from a cover at left back, then no, I wouldn't sign anyone at all. But that's on the proviso that we don't let anyone go.
The worry always is, though, if you lose one or two key players to injury, then it's still a lot of the season to go yet, and you don't want to start fading towards the end.
Yeah.
And what worries me these days, when we get injuries, they don't be one or two games. They tend to go on for a couple of months, don't they?
Yeah. But of course, we got Ruben's on the way back, Kellyman's back, so really the only long-term one is Eli, and he's obviously out for season. He'll be a player, by the way, I think, looking ahead to next season. I want to talk about this. I'll go to you, Terry, first, and then I'll go around. There's a couple of things. I think it was Terry Yarroff's funeral. I think it was today, if I'm right.
Yeah, it was today. Yeah.
So obviously, love and best wishes to Terry's family from all of us here. I'm sure we'll all be happy to support that.
Yeah.
And above and beyond, Terry, of course, we haven't had a chance to commemorate the terrible anniversary of Salah, and his terrible death. And every January, I'm sitting here now, it might look flash, but I'm in my garden shed,
Yeah.
The rain's falling on the roof and whatever. It's January, it's cold and wet and whatever. And every year when we get around the anniversary of Emmy's death, it brings it all back. It's such a terrible loss and a dreadful part of the history of the club, and it was just so tragic.
And I think it happened at a time when we were struggling, and it broke the club apart because there was so much of this nonsense between, was he a Cardiff City player? Wasn't he a Cardiff City player? He was a Cardiff City player. We had signed him, and he was handled badly. That all went wrong, bringing him over that night in a plane with an unqualified pilot, and the whole thing around it got muddied, and I think it drove the club's position down a lot. I mean, it broke Warnock, I'm sure it did. At the time, we couldn't afford it, and it really ripped the club apart because there was so much periphery stuff around that, so much blame being thrown, that we never really got to the bottom of it all. And even to this day, it's still wrangling through the courts. And we'll never know what difference and impact that would have made on the future of Cardiff City if he'd come along and started scoring goals, kept us in the Premier, and it'd have gone forward, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, Martin, want to say a few words about Emmy Salah?
Yeah, I remember receiving the text message. I was so excited about Salah signing. Everybody's so excited about a centre forward signing for us. And I was, especially an Argentinian centre forward. I love Argentinian football, so I was super excited. And I remember getting the text message in work at the time. I thought, there's no way he would come across the channel on one of those little Cessna planes. Surely he'd be on a jet or whatever. And I was just flabbergasted. But it could only be Cardiff City, as that it's never happened to any other club or anything like that. And you think, this could only be Cardiff City. And I feel so sorry for his family. They must have been so looking forward to him playing in the English Premier League, It's watched all over the world. It would have been a big opportunity for him, and for this terrible, terrible tragedy to happen. And unfortunately, it showed you how murky the football world can be. A lot of these things, the sediment that is there, I'm afraid, got all disturbed by this incident. And it's just tragic. You know, it's a game we all love. It's gone from where the Cardiff players would walk to the ground before a game to these international players signing for the club. And it was just so sad. It was just, it was hard to fathom, hard to get your head around the whole situation, to be honest with you. But obviously, the sooner this all gets resolved, the better for his family and his friends. And that should be our main concern, really, as a club, you know.
Yeah. Al, do you want to say a few words on that?
Nothing really I can add in terms of, obviously, there's still that remembering the condolences with the family and so on. But I think you've got to buckle up, really, because I think there's going to be a lot coming. The court case is going to be this year. We're going to be in the press a lot again. And then it does feel like the whole world's against Cardiff City, because a lot of people see it in a different way than we do. I mean, my sort of saving grace with it all, if you like, is that if we're successful in the court case, that I think we will be, Emiliano Sala's family are piggybacking on that, and they will get, if we're successful, then they'll succeed against Nantes as well. And that's what I'm hoping for, really. I don't really want to sort of add to that, but you know, there will be some justice there, I suppose, because really it's his family need more than any. They need more than anyone. And I'm sure there hasn't been an apology to them from anyone. And that's what confuses me a little bit. You know, it's heartbreaking. They will want closure, but I think closure in the right way. Don't just draw a line under it and say, well, you know, that's it. No, if they financially get something from this because of what's happened to their son, then quite rightly so. Quite rightly so.
I mean, one of the things I remember, which I found really quite unpleasant and upsetting, was when his sister came over, you know, and came to the ground, you know. And it was also sort of public and intrusive. I just thought that was horrible and totally unnecessary. But as you say, you know, the impact on the club is the one thing. But, you know, we're football fans. We move on. The family cannot really. So, you know, it's all about the family, really.
Definitely.
Going back to football nowadays, contemporary football matters. It's interesting to me that people like I'll start with you, Alan. Go around Chambers, Turnbull, Osho, definitely Willock, to some extent Wintle. These players who were kind of, you know, the boo boys, you know, for a while. They've all kind of turned around, haven't they? I mean, is that testament?
We always need a boo boy. I was stood next to another contributor to this phone in every now and again, an occasional contributor, and the ball went up.
Go on.
Sorry, well, he's an esteemed author, should we say that, or a joint author, and he stands next to me, and he turned around to me, and the ball went out to Tanner, and he said, "Oh, not him again." Right? And Tanner passed to Colwell scored. So, you know, that's the way it is. We all need a, you know, at the moment, I'm not Tanner's greatest fan, but you know, I said at the start of the show, you know, we've got such high standards now. It's difficult to nitpick with a lot of these players, isn't it? I think they're doing such a job, as evidenced by where we are, you know. And we come tomorrow. Just a quick one, really. Perhaps we've overlooked it. Obviously, we've got Barnsley tomorrow, but Lincoln's got Bradford. So really, but I've said all along. I think it's going to be Bolton. They're going to be up there with us. They've got Burton. We've obviously got Burton Saturday. I think Bolton will beat Burton. I don't know which way I wanted to go with Lincoln and Bradford, because if Lincoln beat Bradford are going to, and we win, Bradford are way behind us then. I'm
looking for a draw. keep them both down. Take 2 points of them both. Take 2 points of them both.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to hand it to Lincoln, though, haven't you, Terry? You know, I mean, I'd never expected it would be Lincoln who'd be. They've had an incredible run, haven't they? They won again. They just keep on going for it, don't they?
Well, yeah, and that is the difference. It's like, you know, where we are. If you can keep a run going, you change dramatically your position in the league, don't you? You can go in out week after week, not losing, you forever climbing, and that's what's happened with them. You know, it's the art of not losing and picking up points that keeps you moving forward.
Yeah. Do you think you think it's going to be Lincoln? You know, let's say we think we're going to go up, right? Even, I mean, if we're 155 points ahead, I'd still be doubting it. But let's say we think we're going to go up. Yeah, who's going to come second for you, Terry?
Well, I did think earlier on that Stevenage was going to give us a run for their money, but they've gone completely off and stepped down to about 6th or 7th now.
Do you see anyone coming from lower down the table? Because at one point,
Well,
I
I agree.
Barnsley, you know.
I think Bolton are going to be around there somewhere as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I got the sneaking feeling there. As long as we can keep that top position with a nice safe cushion, so the odd blip is not going to affect us.
Yeah, and there's a comment there for Al from Graham. Tanner's had 4 assists.
I know all the stats. I know, and Tanner reminds everyone. So it was a bit of a laughing point with us because Tanner reminds everyone of his assists on Instagram. He fell over the ball when it went to Turnbull. Turnbull scored that fantastic goal at Bradford, and Tanner put up on his social medias about his assist. This is part of the fun of being a City fan. Look, I'm not having a go at the kid for God's sake, but you know he's great. But it's just some things are laughable. Graham then said about Huddersfield. Okay, Huddersfield, Sackley Grant was their manager. They beat Bradford on the weekend. They've just got it back into the playoffs. And then you go lower down. You got Mansfield are 11th. Okay, Mansfield have got a good record. They've won 4 of the last 6. So you've got all of these teams who all of a sudden just get this run together. Mansfield have gone from bottom end of the table into the top half, unbeaten in 5, won the last 4. And it's these sorts of teams you don't realise, and they just sneak up from nowhere and bang, they're in the playoffs. I'm hoping that they're not going to trouble us. All right, and we just go way, we'll be way ahead of that.
Of course, Exeter, Martin, are up to 10th as well. I mean, they've come back right into it. You know, it's
I think they're
an interesting season.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of very similar teams, and the teams that come to us often adopt similar tactics. You see 3 centre backs, 2 wing backs, industrial midfield players. You know, run round a lot, make tackles, get the ball forward quickly, and Lincoln are the best of those. I watched them Thursday night against Burton. And they're not playing anything like the quality football we are, but they play to their strengths. I think against Burton at home, second half, they had 33% possession. But it's what they do with it when it gets up the other end. They put long throws in, they put corners in, they've got big athletic players. And they're good at it. They put pressure on teams. And in this league, if you put pressure on teams, you're going to get some results. I personally think Bolton are the next best footballing team to us, but they're inconsistent. They can't do what we're doing, which is turning possession football into results. And we've done that consistently under Barry Murphy. And I think that's testimony to the standards he sets in training, from the field. It's really high standards. Their standards a division above the one we're currently playing in. They're championship standards. And that's why we can play the type of football we're playing and still get results. I take my hat off to him. I think it's been a magnificent appointment. Really, really has.
Yeah, I mean, makes a change that we can now got someone who got the dressing room together, got the players together, and when they're on the pitch, they're out to win. Because prior to that, the previous managers, they come in, they give us a little bit of glimmer of hope with 2 or 3 victories, and then the old squad is disintegrated.
There's a great comment here from Graham. Commented the night just a few minutes ago. Yeah, I don't think Stockport will do it. We'll have a lot of players out with elbow injuries. well said. But on that point, Terry, kind of physicality, if you like, you could argue Stockport turned in, in like going back to what Martin said, playing their way. They came to Cardiff City Stadium, and they walked away with a point, and they were battling. Is League One, from what you've seen so far, maybe a difficult question? Is it about football? Is it about, we are top, so maybe we're proving it is, or is it about what Martin said, just being physical, hard to beat, organised, and industrial?
Well, I think as the season's gone on, you can obviously see teams have studied the way Cardiff play and played the game to stop us playing open football, stop us doing anything in front of goals. We got the skills there now. There's no doubt about that. You can see the midfield players outstanding. But then they crowd the penalty boxes, they play it tough, and they stop you getting a clear-cut shot at goal, and they stop you scoring. And that's why they'll have these breakaways and pinch a goal and make a game very difficult to win.
Yeah, and of course, Al, with the fact that we are looking towards the next level up, like you said, when we're bringing players in, we're looking to get players to play that way. You look at the academy squad; they play a similar level of style of football. And watching the match on the weekend, I watched the Arsenal Man United game. It was a really good game of football. One thing I picked up, and it's been ridiculous now. I mean it in terms of style. That's kind of the way BBM wants us to play. I think that kind of style of football,
Yeah, building up from the back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like something we haven't seen this kind of football before. We haven't seen playing at this ability. I don't think we've ever seen it. I mean, I know we hark back to previous promotion seasons and so on. I've never, I didn't go 50 years. I've never seen football of this standard down there. I've had more exciting games and so on, but not technically. These players are superb, aren't they? Right the way from, I say 1 to 11, but it is 1 to 11. They have to all be footballers. I mean, you said about you being a centre half, Steve. You probably couldn't play football. You just belted it as far as you possibly could.
That's the best review I've ever had. That's about right. Yeah.
Going back to what Martin said at the start, right? It's enjoyable. We look forward. It's going to be terrible weather tomorrow. It's the sort of game that no one wants to go. But if you're a proper City fan, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. It's and that's what it's been like all season long. And hasn't been like that for a long time, is it?
No, absolutely. And of course, Terry, I think I'm right in saying I think we got Barnsley again in a few weeks at their place. So we got them twice in a couple of weeks. So it can be interesting sometimes in terms of like physical kind of battles. Another team from up north. Are any of the sides you've seen this season? I mean, who's impressed you as football teams?
I think anybody. I mean, they've all studied tactics. There's been nobody of Cardiff. I agree with Al. I mean, the way Cardiff play now from the back, the skill up in midfield, up into the 12-yard box is absolutely brilliant. I just feel we lack sometimes a bit of patience in front of goals, and we leave it a bit long to shoot. So in terms of controlling the match, we got it. But every team in that league now knows the way we play in and adapting to stop us playing. They're going to take you out once you cross the halfway line and stop you getting up the top there. And I don't think any of the team. It's a very difficult league, and you see how the league has changed at the bottom quite constantly this year. People up and down in our bottom have 1 or 2 wins. The old squad starts playing, and the old league starts turning itself a bit on its head. The only fortunate bit, the top 1 or 2 sides have stayed there, but below them, they're changing rapidly all the time.
Yeah, and we got a comment here from Sue's. I'm imagining see her now with the blue and white scarf in her hand. I think she's away at the moment. Let's get the home win tomorrow, and I prefer a draw in Lincoln Bradford. Any result would benefit us. There's mileage in that actually. Do you think we're going to kick on, Martin, now, and sort of gradually reinforce it?
I just think we're improving in terms of our structure and composure and control. We're actually improving from where we were in September. My only caveat is goals, turning our play into goals. I said 5 goals in the last 4 home games. Now, some people could turn around and say, well, we've only conceded 2 in those 5 games, so we're winning games. It's like 1-0 to the Arsenal type situation.
Yeah.
And but I would like to see us score more goals.
Yeah.
It would lift our fans. We've done very, very well. We don't need lifting much more, but it would lift us to actually take someone to the cleaners, beat someone 3-0, 4-0.
Be nice.
Would give us a lovely bonus now just before the spring sets in,
Okay, I just got to say, while talking the spring set, and then Terry Walton's with us. He's thinking of the spring kicking in, but for other reasons. Sorry, Suze, I got the wrong Suze there, but thanks for the comment. And I don't know if I showed this comment earlier, talking about goals from Steve. Hi, Steve. Hope your health is on the mend. Positivity alert. We scored 46 goals this season. Only Huddersfield scored more, interestingly, 47. Won 17 games, have a plus 19 goal difference, and we're 10 points clear of, I think it's 7th place, actually. So let's enjoy. So, yeah, Steve, we agree with you, don't we, Al, on that? We're happy, aren't we?
Totally, yeah, totally. You know, it shows how happy we are that we came away on Saturday disappointed just with the 1-1 draw at home, because we expect to win. We expect to win, don't we? We expect to win at home.
Well, we'd won quite a few in a row, hadn't we, up to that, if I remember, actually.
Yeah. So I'm expecting to beat Barnsley tomorrow night. I'm going there expecting to win. Overconfidence possibly, but, you know, I think we'll win.
So Barnsley are 15th. They're 23 points behind us and 20 goals worse off in their goal difference. For a while, I thought they might have come back a bit because they had those games in hand, but they don't look like they're going to. So, what's your prediction for tomorrow? Your prediction for tomorrow, Al?
I'm going to go with what Martin just said and say, we'll stuff them 3-0.
Excellent, Terry.
3-1.
Okay, and so no clean sheet again, eh?
No, I reckon they'll have one lap somewhere along there. We could have one lapse per game where somebody will try to do too much in their own half, and somebody will pick up the ball and beat Trot with 1 goal.
Fair enough. Okay, a bit more detailed than the normal score prediction there, which is good. Another comment from Comment, quite interesting. Only had 2 shots on target against top teams. We cut the 20-odd shots against us. So there's lots of analytical stuff going on in there. Do you fancy us tomorrow, Martin?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think Cleary, the winger for them, is a very, very dangerous player. He's got good feet, he's quick, and he will attack us. But I genuinely think it'll be 2-0. 3-0, I'd be dancing around an Indian stand with. But 2-0, yeah. This is our side at the moment, the sort of side that if they have a little minor setback, as it was Saturday, we could say it was a minor setback, they'll come back even harder.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality of the squad. And that's so refreshing from previous seasons where we're all thinking, oh my God, what's going to turn up today? I remember watching a game against Leeds. I think it was last year and we capitulated. We were passive. We were at home and we just sat 10 players in our own half and thought that was good enough at home. I'm sorry, that is shocking. And we know with Barry Murphy, we're not getting that. We're going to get a side that's got loads of confidence, really good football. I just want to see that turned into I'm being greedy because we've been exceptional. I want to be super positive. We've been exceptional, but I want to see that turned into even more goals because it gets me off my seat. And at my age, the more I jump up, the better I feel, to be honest.
So, just going to paraphrase you. If we get 3 goals tomorrow, you're going to run around the stadium naked. That's what you said.
No.
Don't do that. We'll have another long delay in the match.
We will. I'll have a long delay in my health recovery as well.
Fair enough. There's some good score predictions and everybody's fancying us to win. And then of course we got another tough one on the weekend. That could be a tough one.
But these days, Steve, they're not tough. I mean, there's a different atmosphere at Cardiff this season, and there's been for several seasons. There's a dressing room that's playing for the manager. The manager understands the game. He understands the players. And we're not beaten anymore. We don't go out on the pitch looking to get beaten. I expect them to win every game. And I'm getting disappointed when we don't win now.
Well, that's a really positive comment from Terry. And I looked into it earlier, Terry. I think I'm right in saying this. From a winning position, we've only dropped 2 points all season, which means one game we would have won would have turned into a draw. And I think with Barnsley, they've dropped 11. So, everything looks good. Well, thank you. I've got one final question for Terry. When should I be planting my potatoes, Terry?
End of March.
Thank you very much.
When we're sitting at the top, clearly no more problems. We were already promoted.
Then we have a barbecue, yeah?
Yeah, we have a barbecue then. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, thanks all. Good show.
Thank
See
you.
soon.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar. Cardiff City, right with me for your Caesar.